Good morning. I'm Elaine Good, and I'm here with my husband, Leon. And we were asked to introduce the speakers to you because they are longtime friends. We most got to know James when he was the manager at the Mennonite Central Committee Material Resource Center in Ephrata. Many good years. James and Linda actually met while they were Mennonite Central Committee volunteers in Cairo, Egypt. After having grown up in Virginia and New Holland, they were in service and met there. They've had many different places to live. They own a house in Akron, but they currently live in Amman, Jordan, from which they are directors for Europe and the Middle East for Mennonite Central Committee. They support staff and programs in Egypt, Jordan, Palestine, Israel, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Ukraine. And they also connect with Mennonites in Western Europe. They have a very compelling story to tell, and I now will turn it over to them.
Thank you, Elaine. It's really a pleasure to be here this morning.
Yeah, and that was a very nice introduction. I feel like I know more about myself now after that and what I do and where I live. So thank you so much. I just wanted to highlight MCC's purpose and vision, first of all. MCC, Mennonite Central Committee, a worldwide ministry of Anabaptist churches, shares God's love and compassion for all in the name of Christ by responding to basic human needs and working for peace and justice. MCC envisions communities worldwide in right relationship with God, one another, and with creation.
As you've just heard, we're MCC's area directors for the work in Europe and the Middle East. This means that we support MCC's programs and MCC representatives, which are the program directors, who live in Cairo, in Jerusalem, in Beirut, and currently for the program in Ukraine in Warsaw, Poland. And then there's also programs in Jordan, Syria, Iraq, and our connections in Western Europe.
So every 5 years, MCC develops a 5-year strategic plan, and this is a way to kind of help us to go deeper in our work. And for Europe and the Middle East, we developed this statement. MCC in Europe and the Middle East lives into an understanding of God's intention of restored creation and abundant life in God's kingdom, while responding to suffering and despair, joining with people working towards healing, hope, and wholeness in their communities.
So we asked the reps, the directors for these different programs, what they think we should tell you today. And there were a few good ideas that came through, and one of them was from James Alty, who is rep for Jordan, Palestine, and Israel program. He brought a verse that reflects a concern that I think we can all relate to. Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid, for the Lord Almighty has spoken. This is Micah 4:4. I have to keep looking behind to make sure that I've got this clicker working, sorry. So he went on to explain that in Micah's time, the vines, the grapevines were planted together with the fig trees, with the grapevine climbing up the fig tree, which can grow to be a big, strong, wide shade tree. And so the vine and the fig tree would give shade and protection when you're sitting under them. Also, grapes are harvested in the warmer months, and figs have a longer season going on into the winter, into the cold and rainy months. So this combination of provision is enough for the family and then to share beyond with the extended family, friends, and even strangers. So with this image, there is a sense of stability. These plants can grow in the wild, and we have seen fig trees growing out of not much more than a break in a rock. But properly cultivated, the vine and fig tree means life in one place, a long-term investment, the security of settled ownership. And so this is really why it reflects, the reps in Jerusalem are reflecting on this image, where so many people feel insecure. But a week or so ago, a colleague was reflecting on love, and that the opposite of love is fear. And so I wonder if for Micah, the vine and fig tree was a kind of loving presence, a place with security and not fear. And so we wonder, how does that translate now? What are our places that are the vine and fig tree places where we sense this sort of security that is pictured here?
Yeah. So it's good to be here where, we do have a sense of security and safety. And in a lot of the work that we do, a lot of the places we work, there isn't that sense. So as we think about this tree image, we're honored to be part of the tree, a root or a leaf that provides shade, protection, and nourishment in many different communities. So we think of Syria and the groups that MCC supports that provide child-friendly spaces. This is a place where children can connect with their own creativity and make new friends. We think of Harmony, an organization of young adults providing training in creative expression and places to share art that they create. So when trauma upon trauma of armed conflict, collapsing economy, and the earth underneath literally shaking, and survivors talk about the sound being like a loud roar under their feet, it's a very, very, very difficult situation to be in. So when food is distributed and shelter is provided, there's also a space to rebuild what it means to be human. In Egypt, we think of Eritrean coffee shared with young people who arrived in Cairo as unaccompanied minors from different parts of Africa, Sudan, South Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, all over. You can imagine the distance that people travel. And unaccompanied minors simply means children traveling alone, arriving alone, and living on their own. And children who found a space for education and training and counseling and friends and hope for a future.
The reps for Ukraine are David and Liz Driver. They responded to our question about what to share, noting passages from Psalms that comfort us with reminders that in cataclysmic times, God's watchful care continues. The biggest challenge the MCC Ukraine program faces is the ongoing war, and there really is no end in sight. MCC's Ukraine office in Zaporozhye in the southeast remains closed, unlikely to open again anytime soon, since it is very close to the contact line of the conflict. Ukrainian staff each have made hard choices about where they will live. All current employees are still either internally displaced in Ukraine or living as refugees in other countries. The remote working in COVID, I like to remember, was just practice. No two employees live in the same city, except the married reps in Warsaw. Some partner organizations have relocated to the western Ukraine to be safe. Others have remained in contact zones or very close to them in order to serve people who can't leave and who are there for one reason or another. And yet, due to their faith, MCC's national staff work passionately to serve the needs of others, while also working through their own difficult, even harrowing circumstances in their personal lives. It's amazing they carry on as well as they do. And then they support staff in the organizations we work with. People who are organizing hot tea and psychologists to be in place, even as survivors are pulled from the wreckage of buildings after a missile strike. Who lead counseling sessions in places with no windows, closed passageways or basements, by the light of flashlights. And they put the picture of a window behind them because they spend so much time there and want a reminder. Or perhaps they're caring for children who've been displaced. Wait a minute, didn't go. There we go. Where they have the possibility of horse riding therapy for these children. Or they simply make sure that Roma children are in school, even when there is no electricity or heat in that school.
So, did you want to?
The biggest challenge is the unknown. Where does the next missile land? Where does the next dam break? When does this war end? What reports should we believe? We are passing along thanks and gratitude from all who are serving with MCC in Ukraine, to you who have loved, supported, prayed for everybody who is suffering due to this conflict.
Yeah. So the tree of life, the image of the tree of life, is common in ancient Middle East and shows up in Roman and Byzantine mosaics, and it closes the Bible in Revelation 22. Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb, down the middle of the great street of the city. On each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding its fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations.
I like this image of the leaves being for the healing of nations, but it's only as we consider, I think the leaves are there, we can pick them, we can share them. We have a connection to that healing, and we can share it. And so consider the leaf that you actually hold, and who can you share that with? And what is the verse that inspires you as you share a leaf of healing in your daily life?
Thank you.